Okay, sure. Thank you, Dr. Patial, for having me in this course. So I'll be talking on corneal surgery and glaucoma. As we know, glaucoma is a leading cause of irreversible visual loss post-keratoplasty. Corneal transplant procedures like DSAC and DMAC, where posterior layers of cornea are replaced, are associated with a definitive risk of post-transplant glaucoma. However, anterior lamellar procedures have much lesser risk of developing long-term glaucoma. I'll start with a case. She was a 23-year-old female, recently visited us also, but before also, and she had a history of fall and blunt trauma when she presented for 1 year. And she was operated for trabeculectomy in March 2019 somewhere else and one topical AGMs. So on presentation, her right eye was absolutely normal, and in the left eye there was corneal edema and corneal decompensation. There was localized bleb and total cataract and IOP of 18 millimeter mercury. So we planned, our cornea surgeon planned for cataract surgery and PK for her. Since it was a complicated cataract post-trauma, SICS with vitrectomy was done, and a week later, optical PK was also done. So post-operative, 1 week after PK, her pressure became very high and she was put on maximal medical therapy, including systemic ones. And 4 months later, her IOP became normal on maximal tolerable topical drops only. The systemic therapy was withdrawn and the pressure was 624. And then she did well for a few months, but after 8 months post-op, her pressure again became very high. The bleb was localized and the corneal edema and very advanced cupping on maximal tolerable AGM. So bleb needling was done. And post-reading, she did extremely well with IOP of 11. And with contact lens, her vision was 6/9 on no AGMs, and the topical steroids were tapered to 3 times a day. So her bleb was well formed, as you can see in the picture, post-needling. So etiology of glaucoma following keratoplasty is multifactorial. There can be pre-op, intra-op, and post-op factors, existing glaucoma, and complicated diagnosis like FAKI syndrome, trauma, or repeated PK. And it can be intraoperatively associated with distortion of angle, with collapse of TM, with loss of both anterior and posterior support, especially in patients who are left aphakic. And incidence is pretty high. So in post-PK cases, immediate post-operative causes are residual viscoelastic inflammation and improper suturing and small graft size. And in the late stages, there can be extensive PAS formation, pre-existing glaucoma, and steroid responsiveness. There is a lot of challenges in managing these patients also, because the IOP cannot be measured accurately because of astigmatism and corneal edema and scarring, and the assessment of optic nerve head and visual field is also difficult, and so the gonioscopy. Now coming to the second procedure, DMAC, which involves replacement of only endothelium and Descemet's membrane. So the advantage is definitely that it avoids creating stroma to stroma interface, and the visual prognosis is also better, and the incidence of glaucoma in post-DMAC patient is not as high as in PK. And the major cause in early stages of post-operative phase is the air bubble induced angle closure. You can call it pupillary block glaucoma because of the pressure of the iris against the lens, as you can see here. So iridectomy can be performed to relieve the pupillary block. However, as you can see in the picture, if the air completely fills up the anterior chamber, then it even blocks the iridectomy. So a full chamber air bubble can cause rise in intraocular pressure. Glaucoma in DSAC, again, the mechanisms are same. Air bubble can cause pupillary block, and air bubble can enter the posterior chamber, causing chronic synovial angle closure. So it's very important to manage it properly intraoperatively and post-operatively. Prevention is always better, and the graft size should be larger. This type of suturing is not good. It's a wrong way. So you need to take short and equal sutures between the host and graft like this. Fill the AC complete, not incompletely with 80% or less volume, and inferior peripheral iridectomy, especially if you've done DMAC and DSAC. Medical management is the first line of therapy. Avoid CAIs and PEG analog and pilocarpine in the initial stages because of the inflammation and corneal decompensation, and PI as and when required. Surgical management may be required in quite a few patients, especially if you have done therapeutic keratoplasty. However, there are chances of graft failure with any of these procedures which are can be performed. Trabeculectomy has better long-term graft survival as compared to AGV, but better IOP control can be achieved with AGV. And post DSAC and post DMAC, the prognosis for trabeculectomy is better because AC stability is maintained throughout. And as we know that in these eyes, ciliary sulcus fixation or pars plana placement of the tube is much better than anterior chamber tube placement, because so as to avoid the endothelial decompensation. DALK, advantage of DALK is that it involves removing only stroma while leaving the endothelium and descemet's membrane behind. So the AC is maintained, and the incidence of glaucoma is pretty less with this condition as well. And the faster visual rehabilitation can be achieved. Boston K-Pro, I think this is again is a very serious situation, because the patients who undergo Boston K-Pro have multiple comorbidities, and glaucoma is pre-existing in as high as 40 to 76% of patients, and high incidence and severity of glaucoma prompts a low threshold for performing glaucoma surgery in these patients. And pathogenesis is multifactorial. It is because of the progressive shallowing of angle, inflammatory debris obstructing TM, crowding of anterior segment with the large capro backplate, and chronic use of steroids. So just a small video clip of this particular patient who had acid burn and who underwent multiple PKs and optical PKs, ultimately managed with AGV and Boston K-Pro. So this is how it is assembled, and the cornea surgeon performed the K-Pro. So this is the trepanization of recipient cornea. Removal of corneal button, and then implantation of K-Pro. So this patient was left aphakic, and aphakic type of K-Pro was used here, and this AGV plate was implanted, and then vitrectomy was performed using 3 sclerostomies by a vitreoretinal surgeon, complete vitrectomy, and you can see the disc. The patient didn't have that much of damage of the disc that time, but the pressure was very high. And the advantage of doing vitrectomy is that it removes the inflammatory substance. And then the tube was put through one of the ports, irrigation port, so you don't have to make a separate port. And the tube should be seen in the center, and then conjunctival closure and placement of this BCA. So this is post-operatively. The patient could maintain good vision, and you can see the tube as well. So to conclude, depending on the underlying corneal disorder and surgery performed, glaucoma can be both aggressive and refractory to medical and surgical treatment. So adequate management of glaucoma is essential to stop glaucoma progression and maintain visual prognosis. Thank you very much for your kind attention.